Hi everybody, this is Nikki, and I'm going to do one last quick kind of chat video, and then get on with stuff. Not medical advice. This is purely my own kind of exploration, I guess, over the last year now, and just reporting back in because I know I mention it from time to time, but I don't ever get a chance to really fill in all the stuff that I've done with my mini glucagons. So I'm here to do that right now. But again, I'd like to emphasize the fact that this is not medical advice. And I will say that the mini glucagon shots that I'm doing now, which I now being back on basal IQ, I now rely heavily on mini glucagon shots, and I'm doing them without thinking. I carry my stuff around with me. I bring it in the car. I bring it out in my bag. I don't do it in the middle of the night, but that's a separate conversation. So it's now a regular part of my management, and I'm really, really thrilled, but it is definitely like insulin in that I can share my experience. I can talk about the ways in which I use it. I cannot expect that it would translate 1-to-1, as far as doses, as far as what somebody else would use. So it's like, if somebody asking you how many units of insulin they are going to need for their meal, I don't have it. I can tell you how I would calculate mine, but I cannot tell you how many you would need. Anyway, so I'll talk really briefly about mini glucagon and what I've learned about it so far. About a year ago, I started to mess around with the expiration on glucagon kits. And the first thing that I learned was that anything that just on using a kit, an old kit was okay. That's the first thing I learned. And so I wasn't really sure. I was nervous about even that. And I still have not experimented beyond 2015, probably, something like that. So the oldest kit I've probably used at this point is about 5 or 6 years old. And I would like to say that the kit was fine, and I used it. I don't have my logs in front of me, and I don't have my little write-ups, but I used it successfully, and there was nothing that struck me as being expired, right? Like, I do examine them. I do take a look at them. I do look for response. If I feel like if I feel like it's not doing anything, then I just will ditch the kit and I'll go on to the next one. But in general, I don't think I've thrown away anything more than maybe one kit. So anyway, so the first thing I learned was that the expiration, the kit expiration wasn't necessarily a reason to ditch it. It's something to kind of take a look at. So I did that. So the next thing I had heard, and this was in a sports, the diabetes athletes group, was that that a kit that you had mixed, and this speaks to the idea that that this stuff isn't shelf stable, right? So once you mix it, you're supposed to be throwing away what any unused portion within about 24 to 48 hours. Let's say even if you did it for a couple of days beyond that, like the idea is that it wasn't shelf stable. So you had to throw away whatever you didn't use pretty quickly, right? Like it wasn't good for long. Well, I'd heard that wasn't necessarily true. And there was a woman who said that it was good for 1 to 2 weeks, and then even, 3 or 4 weeks if it's kept in the fridge. And so it was enough for me to decide to try it on my own, to just kind of safely and little by little test those ideas that you had to ditch it after a few days. I will say about that I do still, and I didn't mark this one because I obviously I'm growing out of even that. I do still usually mark down the date when I'm mixing the kit, just so if I'm more so I know which kit I'm using than anything else. But it does give me an idea when I go to do a quick mini dose. Is this stuff 2 days old, or is it 3 weeks or a month old, or like how long, so it's nice to know. But you can see I haven't even marked this one, so I don't know when I mixed it, and I will continue to use that all the way to the end of the vial anyway, barring any signs that something has changed and it's not good for it anymore. what I'm trying to say here is that with the mini glucagon shots, I've learned that expiration is really pretty, and which is true for insulin and stuff like that too. So it's not a crazy thing. I've learned that it's really a pretty soft definition, and I have started to, more than anything, look for just signs that the individual kit that I'm working with isn't really good, and I haven't seen it yet. Meaning that pretty much all of the kits that I've used, and at this point, I think I've used 30 of them, if I had to guess, 25, I don't have any idea, enough to know that it's not just a fluke, and to know that I'll continue to do what I'm doing, and that is to look for signs that it's not as strong as it was, or definitely look for signs that it's like cloudy or something, that would be something different, or smell or whatever, but to continue to look for signs that it's just not very good. So those are the two things. So that's where I set out. And where I am currently is that I use Glucagon every single day. I mark it. I carry the stuff around with me. I barely even look at the date when I go to use it. And my dosing is anything from, I'm going to say probably 2 units. 2 units would be a very, very small dose. But I do sometimes 2 units. The average dose is probably between about 4 and 6, 3 and 6 units. When I start looking at using it, and that size dose is usually when there's just a mismatch with my bolus and what I'm eating. So maybe I've done a bolus and my blood sugar is dropping, but I've already eaten. I just need that little bridge until the carbs set in. So I might do like a 3 unit glucagon. Like I don't want it to be enough to raise my blood sugar. I just want it to be enough to kind of hold me over till the food kicks in. So I do those on a regular basis, and there's days I probably even do it with every meal. And then if I'm looking at using it to get me through exercise, because I once for a very short period of time was very disciplined in my preparation for exercise, and I am not that anymore. So I've learned to kind of rely on Glucagon to fill in for where I used to have more organization. But once I start looking at Glucagon for my exercise, I might do between 8 and 15 units. That's where I really bump it up a little bit because that exercise is going against, the exercise wants to pull my blood sugar down. So I need a bigger bump of this to serve to get the same effect. And then I use it after exercise if I'm dropping. I have been using it when I'm nauseous, and nausea is a thing in my life now, and so it is what it is. But it's been really nice and very comforting to know that I can use a mini glucagon dose when I'm too nauseous to put something in my mouth. I mean, that's that's very helpful, including I just did a video where I talked about my second dose of the vaccination and my being too sick the next morning to eat the thing I had bolused for or drink, because it was coffee, but I couldn't physically consume the thing I had bolused for, so I was sitting there with a whole lot of very aggressive insulin and a weak, broken body and no ability to eat. And so I want to say it was maybe 15 units, and it was just to get me through, and it got me through, and the rest of the day my blood sugar was like this. And I'm not giving the glucagon the credit for anything. I'm not saying it's a magic thing. I'm just saying I've learned how to use it the way I use my insulin, and that is as a tool. And I've gotten really good about using it as an additional tool. And I do it a lot. My mom loves to bring me orange juice, and she loves to freak out and tell me I need to eat something. But I tell her a lot of times, no, I'd rather have 3 units of glucagon. And that is because it's faster than anything. For me, my experience so far has been that it's faster than anything else. It's really the best at knocking out any kind of the symptoms that I'm starting to feel. It seems to be wonderful with getting my head straight again. And it's, even if I'm crashing, even if I know even if I know I would need a huge glucagon shot to rescue me, like, and I don't mean an emergency situation. I just mean, let's say I have 5 units on board and it's after a run, and everything is plummeting really fast, and I would really need 20 units of glucagon to fix the problem. I don't want to do 20 units of glucagon, so I might do 7 units of glucagon and have, a banana, or have something that I need that second. It doesn't replace everything. But when I do it in conjunction, a lot of times what will happen is I can prevent that big drop that turns into this enormous scene where I eat everything in the house, and and end up an hour and a half later at a 450, or whatever it is. It's a wonderful tool, and I'm all about it, and I use it 24 hours a day. Not 24 hours a day. I do not use it while I sleep. And that is only because I have serious confusion issues in the middle of the night. And the last thing I need to be doing is confusing what's going to drop my blood sugar and what's going to raise my blood sugar. It's enough to try to figure out what bolus I'm going to do. But that's only supposed to take my blood sugar in one direction. So I think the idea of mixing in the possibility of a treatment that might send me in the wrong direction in the middle of the night when I shouldn't be doing it is just a dumb idea. So I don't even bring it into the room with me. That way I'm not tempted. But outside of that, I'm using it all day long, and it's been wonderful. And I do get my kits off of, I won't say where, it's off of a spot where you can get kits for relatively cheap. I mean, it's diabetics, dealing with diabetics, and it's all unused stuff, and so I have enough to be able to do this at a very reasonable cost. It's not $10 a shot, or something ridiculous. And so I am plugging on along, and I did watch that, and I'll stop now. I did watch that video. I did sit in on a Zoom call with the islet guy, the bionic, no, that was the 670, the islet guy, Damiano, and it was very interesting. He did say that he would not do glucagon mini shots, period. Like he wouldn't do it for his child. And when he said that, I went, because that's like everything I'm doing. But then I also realized that, okay, and maybe the next person wouldn't do, coffee shots or whatever. Okay, that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next year when I get back.